Art in the medium of glass today dominates my thinking, dominates my schedule, uses all the planning skills I have. And yet, if you just look back a little to 2012, let's say, I was totally blind to what glass was, how glass could be used, what could be made out of glass. But in 2012, my wife and I were in Michigan at the Dennis Art Center, and we saw a show by glass artist Howard Ben Trey. And it was stunning. It was architectural, it was strong, it was impactful. Then I thought, I've got to find out more about this. I've got to find out who curated this show. I thought maybe it was somebody at the Dennis Museum, but no, it was Ferd Hampson from the Habitat Gallery. They gave me his name and his number. I called Ferd up and said, I'm embarrassed to say, I don't know anything about Howard Ben Trey, but I just saw your show. It's one of the most moving things I've ever seen. Would you be willing to talk to me about that work and about it's in glass? Am I correct? I remember my first step inside the Habitat Gallery. It is truly a world of glass. I must have seen, maybe from the front doorway, as many as 60 or 70 different pieces, all glowing in the light, and I was transformed. There's no other way to look at it. I was transformed. After that visit to Ferd and wandering through his numerous galleries with really, in the end, hundreds of pieces, not dozens, but hundreds of pieces on display, my first thought was, there's got to be a show. There's got to be an extravagant show. Maybe it ought to be a summer of glass. And so Ferd helped me. We put together this show, co-curating, and started off with a summer of glass. There are some generous folks, glass collectors, who said, Charles, we like what you're doing with this summer of glass. It's kind of exciting. We'll come down and visit you from Detroit. We'll come and visit you from Chicago, and we'll offer you a piece or two from our collections to maybe get you started. So with a little bit of money and a few gifts at first, we started a fledgling collection that soon grew to a mind-blowing dozen pieces. Perhaps the most interesting thing of our COVID time was the idea that we weren't going to be in the museum, we weren't going to be in our offices, we were going to be stuck in our home, we were going to have to communicate in some form, but along came virtual conferencing. It didn't take much time to realize that the people that I had reached out to borrow things for our summer glass exhibits were at their homes, and they had the ability with their laptops or their phones to conference with me. I was thinking a handful of people. Pretty soon that turned into a whole group of folks. Now it's every week I'm talking to different collectors, and pretty soon the dozen pieces becomes 24, becomes 28. And then I gave a large group a powerful talk about where I thought glass could go at this museum. Someone recorded that Zoom, painfully long, 50-minute Zoom. Somebody recorded it, and they put it up online so that anybody could access it, and people all over the country started accessing it. Now, one of the people that accessed it was the daughter of Sylvia Fendel, who was looking for a place to house her mother's glass collection now that her mother had passed. And she thought probably that I was slightly outrageous, a little crazy, but totally passionate about glass and glass in the future of this museum, and gave us a phone call. I called her back that very afternoon, and we got into an animated conversation, and we told all these stories. By the end of another hour, we were well on our way to saying, I think the Fendel Rosenbach collection should come to Fort Wayne at the Museum of Art. That doubled our collection, actually more than doubled our collection, more or less overnight, if you will. Now, as great a story as that is, it gets even better. One of my curators helped me try to get the phone numbers or email addresses of each of the artists that were in the Fendel Rosenbach collection so we could get a hold of them to let them know you're in the Fort Wayne Museum of Art's collection now. One of those artists, though, Carl Belling, a small piece, had trouble getting a hold of Carl, but we finally found the right phone number, and his wife answered the phone. Stephanie Belling asked why we'd be calling Carl. How did we know he did glass? Because we have a piece of glass from Carl. It was in the Fendel Rosenbach collection, and we wanted to let Carl know. Oh my goodness, Carl's passed. But I can tell you, said Stephanie, I can tell you how happy, how overjoyed he would be to know that one of his glass works was in the Fort Wayne Museum of Art. And she says, as a matter of fact, I'll poke around in the next couple of days, and I think I have another 8 or 10 pieces of Carl's work. Would you like to have them and contextualize the one piece you have? Her collection, the Carl and Stephanie Belling collection, 181 pieces, and she gave it all to the Fort Wayne Museum of Art. If we continue growing as fast as we're growing now, we need a wing for glass. We need a wing. We are in the process of renovating another portion of the museum as a storage facility where the glass sculptures would all be on individual shelves. They could all be seen. It's a beautiful part of the building. It's totally underused. We could do it for a very good price, and we can now house 1,400 additional pieces of glass to the ones that would be on display in the new glass wing. That would enable us to rotate things in and out, highlight people, highlight pieces, and be attractive to people all the time because there's always going to be something new. I see that as where we're going. And when things calm down in the building trade, I see expansion of that wing.